Hello, GHS teachers. I'm here to provide a little instructional training for you. This is for both you and for my class for instructional technology. So I thought I'd follow up on the conference that we had, or the little in-service day we had where I trained you guys for about 75 minutes. And I thought I'd give you a follow-up video in case you weren't able to follow along quick enough. I know we had some people getting signed up. Hopefully at this point you're all signed up and you can get to where I need you to go to follow this video. So I'm going to kind of recover some of those things where we created a folder that we were ultimately going to invite our students to, and then I'll also talk about creating a document where you can then supplant or input links, and you can kind of have an interactive live syllabus that kids can go to every time you need them to look at an assignment. So with no further ado, here we go. This is our training for creating a student folder and a little bit of Google Docs. So at the top here, to get started, you need to make sure you're logged in. If you're not sure if you're logged in, you should have some kind of icon over here. You'll see my face. I'm signed in, and that kind of tells me I'm signed in. Another indicator, if you have Google Plus, over here it says Plus James. That basically means I'm signed in with my Google Community and my Google Plus account as well. So from there, we want to go to the apps icon, which is the Rubik's Cube looking thing with no color. We're going to click on that. After clicking on that, we're now going to go to Drive, because Drive is where we're going to operate out of today. And it's going to take us there shortly. Once we get into Drive, you'll notice I have a lot of things from Fort Hays State here. So don't get alarmed if you don't have much. The big thing is we're just going to create some of these types of folders so we can share them with our students, okay? So the first step you want to go with today is over here in this area. Now if you have the new drive, it might say new here instead of create, which is fine. They mean the same thing, so don't worry. All right. The next step we're going to go through is we're going to click new or create. After clicking new or create, we're going to click folder. All right. And at this point, you're creating a folder that you want to kind of keep all of your students' folders in. So to do that, we would rename this the class we want to teach. So I'm going to remake this and call it business law, because that's one of the classes I teach. I also like to put in the semester and the year that I teach. So I'm going to, let's say it was spring, whoops, 2015. And that way when I have all these students in this specific folder, I can kind of keep track of just this group. So I'm going to hit create, and you'll notice it pops up over here on the side as well as in my listing here. All right, so the next step after creating your folder is you need to have your students create their own folder as well. All right, and they would be doing this on their computer on their own, and it might look something like this. So you'd have them also go to create just like you did. You'd have them also click folder, and then you would have them, this is what I like to do. I have them put their, I've had them put their last name and their first name in there, and I recommend last name first, then first name. So when you're going through and looking at their assignments, it kind of follows the grade book too, alphabetically. That's the only reason I do it that way. So let's say it's me, I'm the student, I'm going to put Zimmer, comma James, and then I'm going to put the class name business law. All right, so this is if a student were going to make theirs, this is what theirs would look like, okay? And then you're going to hit create, okay? So that's pretty much the first step to getting the folders created for you and your students. The next step is for your students. It's on the student end, okay? So what we're going to do next is you're going to have your students, and I'll be my student over here. I'm going to be Zimmer James Business Law. You're going to have them right click on their folder, whatever their folder is called. And you're going to go to share. And you're going to click on the share icon. All right. Once in here, this is the place where they're going to share it to you. Okay. In this case, if I'm going to share it to myself, this is going to be kind of strange, but it'll work. You want them to type your Gmail address in here. So if I were the student and I was telling myself to invite me as a student into the class, I would say, okay, here's my Gmail address. I'd write it on the board, and I would have them type it into this box. Alright, so in this box, to kind of show you what it would look like, I'm going to plug in a Gmail that I would use or have my students use. So I would tell them to type in J.R. Zimmer GHS at gmail.com because that's the Google ID that I'm using. Okay, now I'm not actually going to send this because I don't want to cause any conflicts or problems here. I'll show you. I've already moved some folders over to try and show you what will happen next. So I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel, but I want your students should hit send here to make this work, okay? So if your students will hit send, I will show you next where the files will go. So over here on the side, as I'm looking in my drive, you'd want to go to shared with me or incoming because that's where those files are going to go after they've typed in your email address and hit send. Okay, so in here, I'm going to use these files as an example, this marketing, personal finance, business economics, entrepreneurship, and business law. So right now, they're currently hiding in my drive. That's where they're sitting at. But these are shared by me from another Gmail account that I have, so I kind of took on that personality as a student. So I want to move these. There's two ways. I want to select with check marks the files I want to move, and remember, I'm thinking of these as my students who shared their folders with me. So, and now I'm going to take them and move them into my class folder. So to do that, I've check marked these, and then I come up here to the top, and I go to Move To, and I want to go down here and put a check mark next to Business Law 2015 because that's the class I created. I realize that not all those things are going to necessarily be relevant for Business Law Spring 2015, but that's where I want to send them. So I would put a check mark right there just by clicking, and then I would click Move. All right. Now I'm not going to click Move just yet. I want to show you another way because if you're in the new drive, you may not have these check boxes. So the other way to do that is if you click on each one of these accounts, or if you want to do it as a grouping, you can hold your shift key, click the first one, and keep your shift key held, and click on the last one in your section. And that should select all of those folders at once. Should highlight them just like mine are here in yellow. And then you can right click on any one of them. So I'm going to just pick the middle one here to kind of show you how this works. Right click, and then go to Move To, and you should be able to again select the folder that you want to send it to, and all your students folders will then be moved to your classroom folder. So I'm going to click Move this time just to show you that they'll move over there. Alright, so I click Move, and the nice reassuring thing is after you do this, if you do it right, it should tell you where those folders went. So they all went to my class that I created, Business Law Spring 2015. Alright, so let's go see if they're in there. I'm going to come over here to the side. I'm going to find my Business Law Spring 2015, and sure enough, there's all my students, so to speak. Hopefully your students will populate as well into your classroom created folder. All right. Please remember that you must have your students create their own folder using their own account and then share that folder to you through your Gmail. Okay? Following those same steps I just highlighted. All right, I'm going to pause for a second, and then I'll come in and talk about Docs and how to use Google Docs to share information with your students. Okay, let's talk about documents real quick. And I want to show you how I like to share assignments to my kids quickly. And it's a two-step process. The first step is to create an initial document. So I'm going to do that first. In order to create a document, all you have to do is come up here to the Create or New button, click on it, and once you've clicked on it, you select Document, or if you have the new version, it's called Google Docs. They mean the same thing. If you're not sure, they have the same icon, so that should help you a little bit. So I'm going to click on Document, and the main thing you need to understand about documents is that they make their own separate linked page. It's almost like they're their own web page. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about moving things. This is a link that you can send to just about anybody. So the next step I like to do is I like to name this my class assignments and notes, depending on whatever it is I'm going to put on here. I like to call them assignments and notes. So if this is my business law class, I'm going to title this in all caps because I want it to stand out from any other documents that I might use or send. Um, so I would call this business law assignments and notes. And I didn't spell assignments well. Oh, I got my G and my N mixed up. Okay, assignments and notes. Another thing, and this is something I'm progressing to, I haven't done it yet, but I might start calling this business law interactive, whoops, syllabus. It sounds professional. I kind of like it. And it's describing what it is, because what I want this to be is a grouping of all the things that my students are going to do, use, see for notes, see for assignments, and I want this place to be the place they go to get that stuff. So this is a document that I'm creating for them to use multiple times, like almost daily, okay? So I'm going to call it interactive syllabus. You can call it notes and assignments, whatever you want to do. I'm changing on the fly here. So I'm going to hit OK. And now that I have this document created, I need to share this with my students. And to share it with my students, I don't want to do the share option over here necessarily because I want them to have this document specifically and I want them to be able to do a couple things with it. So I'm going to move it into each one of their folders, and this is the quickest way I know how to do that. So I'm going to go move to, and I'm going to click organize. And maybe it'll let me, there we go. Okay, and now I want this document to stay in my folder, and you'll notice that it's in Business Law Spring 2015, but I also want it in my students folders. So I'm going to click this down arrow, and there are all my students. So I'm going to hold Control to click on all the students that I want to have access to this document. So I want business economics, business law, entrepreneurship, marketing, personal finance. Oops, I don't want that one. Oops, see what happens when I click and I don't hold Control? It selects something that I don't want. So now I gotta start over. I'm gonna start back here, click next to business law spring 2015, hold my Control, and then click the folders I want it to go into. These folders again represent those students that you might have. Okay, so you want it in all of these places. So once you've done that, you're going to hit move. I'm hitting move right now. Okay, one key thing after you've made this is it's sharing properties. And what I mean by that is right now your kids have access to edit this document, and you don't necessarily want that. So to change that part of the document, you're going to go to share, and right here it says get shareable link. We don't want that yet. We're going to use that later. This is what we're concerned with, this shared with and who it's shared with. It ought to tell you all your students are shared with it. If you click on that, it'll bring you a list like this. And you're going to notice that even though I sent it to a bunch of folders, the owner of those folders is one person, so you don't have as many students listed here. Normally you'd have a few or everybody in your class that you're going to have to change. And what I want you to do, so you can save yourself a little headache here, is to change it to can view. All right, change all these people to can view. And you want to do that so when they go through and see your interactive syllabus, they can just view it, and if there's a link in there, you can manipulate which links they can edit, which links they can view. And it makes it a lot easier in the long run. So this is kind of still setting up the process. So after you do that, hit your save changes, and then hit done. And you're ready to go. You're ready to do the next part of setting up links for your documents, okay, and sharing them into folders. So I'm going to hit pause here, and I'll be right back. Okay, I came right back. Wanted to try to decide whether I should keep going. This screen recording only allows me to record for 15 minutes. So I wanted to make sure I had enough time to put in the next part, and I don't think I do because I'm at about, well, right now, 40 seconds. I'm trying to look at the time, and you're probably watching the video thinking the same thing. So what I'd like to do here at the end is kind of recap. You've created a folder for your class. You've had students create a folder for themselves, and you had them share that folder to you, so you would have class folders that you could share information with them. And you also have created now a document that allows you to give them information easier than having to push it into their folder every time. This is going to be a mind shift, and I'm going to talk about that shift in the next video in how to set up these other documents and share them as links to your kids using just this one interactive syllabus.